Hey everybody, I'm Mark Freidenberg. I'm the director of the CI Sandbox at Bentley. And we want to welcome you to the first of our series on topics in tech with Bentley alumni and CIS Sandbox tutors who used to work here, all talking about the cool things that they're doing in technology. You can come visit us at cissandbox.com and you'll find the lineup of everybody who's speaking on our website. So I want to just introduce a couple of the speakers are going to be coming over the next couple of weeks and today, and then we'll turn the program over to Chad and Frankie Chen. Our speaker lineup, I should also point out that there's an error on the flyer. We're going to be starting at 2 o'clock starting next week, not 2:10. So please note that. And this week, I'll introduce you in a minute to Frankie and to Chad. And then coming up next week, we have Stefan Demers. Stefan is a Bentley alum who's going to be out in Portland. He works for Facebook, and he was responsible for bringing the Oculus 2 Quest headset project to life for Facebook. And so he's going to talk about that. And then the week after that, we have Matt Soma, who's going to talk about why marketing, being a marketing major and a CIS minor helped his career. And also have a regular child at Kayak. And then Jake O'Connell, who I think is on the call at the moment, will be on the week after talking about starting a startup. So lots of cool stuff happening. Please join us for as many of these as you can. And let me stop sharing the screen. And so we have about an hour and 10 minutes or so. So we'll give each of the speakers about a half an hour or so to talk, and then they'll tell you how they want to handle questions. And our first speaker today is Chad Wright. Some of you may know him as Professor Wright because Chad also teaches CS 150 here at Bentley. And Chad is the CIO at Boston Dynamics, which is a robotics company here in Waltham. And then we'll hear from Chad for a bit. And then we'll move on to Frankie Chen, who was a CS major here at Bentley and graduated a couple years ago and is now working at Amazon in Seattle. So welcome to everybody, and Chad, take it away.
All right, great. Thank you, Mark. You can see my screen okay? Yeah, all right, awesome. I have my setup so that I can see all of you that have your cameras on. I also have the chat up. So if you want to ask any questions at all during my presentation, you can either wave at me, you can use the Zoom, raise your hand, or you could type it in the chat window. I'll keep watching all of those things as we go forward. All right, well, thank you very much for your time, everybody. As Mark said, my name is Chad Wright. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Boston Dynamics. Thought I would talk to you today a little bit about IT careers and sort of what my path was like from being a graduate student at Bentley University a number of years ago to my current role at Boston Dynamics. Also want to talk to you about IT strategy, which is what I spend a lot of my time doing, which is sort of a combination of some of the soft skills and the technical skills that you learn along the way as an IT professional. Want to make this as interactive and as informal as possible, so please feel free to ask questions as we go through. Just as a means for introduction, how many of you have heard of Boston Dynamics before? Have people seen the videos? You've probably seen Spot, our quadruped, right? That's what we call it, our quadruped robot, our yellow dog-looking robot, and you've probably seen Atlas as well. As Mark said, Boston Dynamics is headquartered right in your backyard in Waltham, Massachusetts. We're actually just moved to a new location right off of Trapelo Road. So if you come in via Route 95, Route 128, we're right on the corner of Trapelo Road and 95. We actually have signage up on the building now, which you can see from the highway, which is a huge landmark for us, and very excited about being in the new post location. The company's not new, however. It's been around since 1992, spun out of MIT. Was really a company that was built on developing animation techniques and animation technology for other robotics companies, and then sort of in the 2000s started to build robots that were used for things that humans didn't want to do, things like carrying large payloads, carrying difficult or dangerous equipment, going into difficult places, dangerous places, helping people. And so we were funded by a lot of military groups to deploy these types of robots that weren't used for combat, right? And that's a lot of what you see on social media tends to be the big questions that people ask us. Are you going to put a weapon on Spot? Are you going to use it to harm human beings and animals? In fact, that's actually against our terms and conditions for using our robots and very much against our philosophy as a company. The work that we did for the military groups years and years ago were really, again, for carrying communications equipment, carrying water, carrying supplies. Imagine a large horse-looking robot that could carry, 500, 600, 700 pounds of equipment. You could replace what maybe 2 or 3 humans or 4 humans might have to carry, and doing it in a way that would keep other humans safe and allow humans to do more value-add roles. And so the company continued to evolve. We were purchased by Google back in 2014. We're part of the Google family for about 3 years as they were building out a robotics department and a go-to-market strategy for robotics. They pivoted and changed directions in 2017 and sold the company to SoftBank, which is a Japanese bank. So we're owned wholly by SoftBank, and they sort of bought us with the idea of going to market with a commercially viable robot. So again, taking all that technology, all that research and development for the last 2.5 decades, and then putting it together in what you see today in Spot. This week actually marks our 1-year anniversary for selling Spot commercially. And you can imagine, we're very much like a startup. When people ask me what's it like to work at Boston Dynamics, I describe it's a mature startup. It's mature in the sense that it has this technology that's 25 years old, but it's brand new in the sense that we never sold a robot before. We never supported a robot. We never collected cash. We never marketed a robot. We never manufactured a robot. So all of these brand new challenges that we had as a company all came together in the past year. And that's why I became CIO at Boston Dynamics. I'm the first CIO that they've had. It was sort of their inflection point as they built out their leadership team to help the company take that next step into commercial sales. Spots are primarily sold here in the US. We have just recently started selling them in Europe, Canada, and Singapore. You have likely seen some of our videos during COVID. There was the Singapore government using Spots that were walking through parks and reminding people to be socially distant. You've seen other videos with, maybe seen Fluffy at Ford, walking through their manufacturing plants being used to sort of stake out the way in which their plants were being designed for more optimal use and construction. Different industries that we're in, certainly construction. I'll show you a couple of videos in a moment that you'll see what some of these use cases look like. Most recently, Universal Studios down in Florida just released a video about Latte. That's the name of their Spot dog that they sort of decked out as one of their characters from one of their theme park exhibits. Lots of work in logistics and transportation, manufacturing, again, will continue to grow. We sell Spot as a platform, right? Meaning you can physically bolt on anything that you want to the back of Spot. And this video coming up, we'll talk about that a little bit more. There is more to our portfolio than just Spot. A number of you have probably seen Atlas as well. Atlas is our biped or our humanoid robot. Atlas is not for sale. We don't have plans to sell Atlas, but it does represent a research project for us. So as we develop new artificial intelligence and machine learning for both vision and understanding as well as movement, it becomes a really good platform for testing a lot of those ideas out. Handle is coming to market in the next year or two. That is our logistics robot. Imagine the tasks of moving boxes or moving packages from one pallet to a shelf, or from a shelf to a pallet, or a truck to a pallet, however you want to describe it. Again, using robotics for some of these more mundane tasks in logistics. And then Pick is an artificial intelligence machine learning vision solution. It is not the arm. This is an arm that you can buy commercially from just about anybody. What we have with it is a series of cameras and a vision system that will allow the arm to grab the box in a specific location on a shelf or on a pallet. So it's more of a software component that goes along with some of these arms. And so we'll partner with different arm manufacturers and bring that to life. And so we've got some large retailers that we're working with right now on that concept. So let me show you a quick video here. This video is sort of a collection of different customers for Spot. And what I'd like you to concentrate on when you look at this is watch the difference in the floor, in the surface on which Spot is walking on, right? You saw very smooth, polished concrete. Now you're seeing sort of walking through farmland in sort of a hiking trail. This particular video is from a farm in New Zealand where Spot is used to inspect an orchard. You've also might have seen the video where Spot was herding sheep. We also have some different use cases that we're working on with energy companies and other factories where Spot can actually go into a physical space. You can see how he can navigate through a very tight area, navigate stairs and tight corners, using it for measuring gauges. And imagine Spot with an arm, and we've just gone to market with an arm that could actually grab a dial, turn a handle, inspect, take a reading on a dial, for example. And then Spot can be used to go into places where it might be too dangerous or too tedious or too mundane for a human to do it. So Spot has been sold and being deployed in places like that. You can see, again, a difference in the types of surfaces that Spot's walking on, whether it be an oil rig, working miles and miles out into the ocean somewhere, on a dock, checking containers, checking packages, things like that. Again, it's the same software stack, it's the same physical hardware. It just shows the robustness of our movement capabilities and our ability to sort of scale the application. And in each of those videos, you saw different things that were literally bolted on the back of Spot, right? We think of it as, again, as a platform. They can bolt on an arm, they can bolt on a LiDAR system, they can bolt on a camera, all types of different technology. And we're really leaving it up to our customers to come up with new and exciting ways to use Spot. You've probably seen videos about Atlas that were probably a little more flashy, but this is a never seen before video out of our new facility in Waltham. You can see it's a really excellent facility where we combine a lot of our demo areas. We have a really nice looking museum. The demo area are also our laboratories, and they integrate very closely with people are working. Professor Mark knows this very well. I host a lot of tours. I did it for years when I was at Amazon Robotics, and when we're back to getting together in groups of humans, we'll likely have Bentley students come on down to Boston Dynamics and tour our facility there. So it's another great type of, you're welcome, Mark. It's another great type of organization where we really want to do a lot of community outreach and help people understand, how we use robots and how they can help make our human lives better. My point about this video here, again, if you've seen the parkour video where Atlas is doing flips and backflips and jumping and running in different angles. This, while it's not so much better, it does actually demonstrate some of our vision and detection systems with the different heights and depths in which it is running and jumping. So it's a really cool, there's going to be some new videos coming out for Atlas as well. So for all you fans, keep an eye out for that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Chief Information Officer. For those of you that are not familiar with the role, the Chief Information Officer is sort of the head of the IT department in any organization. There's a CIO at Bentley University. He's responsible for the strategy and the direction. I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But it is sort of the culmination of all different types of roles within an IT organization. And then the CIO doesn't do all of those roles, of course, but he or she would be responsible for managing the different types of people that do that. And so I wanted to put this up here. I usually do this when I have talks like this, not to say that this is the path. It is a possible path that anybody can follow really in their career. But I started as an undergraduate coming out of Holy Cross College in Worcester, Mass, with a degree in math, and I was one of the first class to have minors in computer science. So it was a brand new program at the time, and I had a job called application specialist. I had no idea what a CIO was. I had no idea what any of these companies really did. Most of the technology that I use in my job today didn't even exist when I came out of undergrad. I had no idea what information technology was. was, or what a career path would look like. And so I feel strongly about giving back and helping people understand what are the types of paths and types of jobs that exist for people in this space. So if you'd ever want to talk about any of these companies or careers in IT, I'll put my LinkedIn address up at the very end of the presentation here, or you can find me in the Bentley directory as well. I also like to point out, you know, looking in working for different companies, you know, all of these industries are a little bit different, right? Epsilon was database marketing. I worked for pharmaceutical companies for a number of years, but working for such products that I had no idea how they would transform the world. Things like drug companies that were creating Rogaine for hair loss, Wellbutrin for depression, Retrovir for AIDS, Sandoz Pharmaceuticals, which is now, I believe, part of Merck, and some of the work that they do for diabetes drugs and things. So it's funny how time changes. You don't realize how big of an impact you might have been having in your careers, and you'll likely experience this as well. So it's good to step back and look back at the types of things that you have experience with throughout your career. Avid Technology was video editing and special effects, one of the only companies to ever win a Grammy, an Oscar, and an Emmy. Endeca was enterprise search, was with them sort of in a early startup stage. They were eventually bought by Oracle for $1.3 billion. Although I had left a year before the acquisition, that was a really cool place to be. Started in, you know, with under 200 people and helped that company grow. Athena Health in Waltham, they're a friend of Bentley University as well. They have cloud-based medical billing systems and electronic health records, things like that. And then, of course, Amazon Robotics and Boston Dynamics in the robotics field. Mark was asking me when we were starting, you know, what's the biggest difference that you've seen between Boston Dynamics and Amazon Robotics? Well, you know, as Frankie will probably tell you a lot about Amazon. Amazon Robotics is just doing things at amazing scale. And Amazon Robotics is in North Reading, Massachusetts, not far from campus, and they have a manufacturing facility there. And we went from 15,000 robots a year to over 100,000 robots a year, and they have well over 400,000 of their little orange robots that drive around on the floor and carry the shelves to help you pick the products. That technology was really big in helping you get your products, your prime, you know, deliveries, getting them the same day or the next day. That Amazon Robotics solution was using the back end to do that. But the biggest difference with Boston Dynamics is that it's selling commercially, right? How do you sell the robot? How do you support a robot? How do you market it? All of that was very different with Boston Dynamics. And then again, doing it on a much smaller scale since we're just starting out. And as Mark mentioned, I also teach at Bentley University. I graduated in 2001 with, I believe it's called an MSCIS today, that computer information systems. My degree is called an MSIT, Masters in Information Technology, just a rebranding. That was a great experience that I had. For those of you that are in graduate school, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that are thinking about graduate school, it's a great university to be a part of. I've hired over 50 people out of the Bentley programs, either undergraduate or graduate. Hired them as either interns or full-time people on my teams. I think that Bentley University does a wonderful job in preparing you for the working world, both in your presentation as a candidate, and again as a full-time contributor and future leader of your company. I've hired and managed Falcons of all different levels, from individual contributors to managers and directors, and have just had a fantastic experience. And so when the CIS department called me in 2016 and asked me to step in for someone that was going on sabbatical, I basically looked at my wife and said, this is an opportunity I can't refuse. And so I have been doing it ever since. I teach CS 620 in the graduate school and CS 150 in the undergrads, and love every minute of it. Made some great, wonderful friendships with a number of students that I continue to work with, a number of whom I helped get jobs, and happy to do that for all of you, make an introduction for you somewhere. Again, really feel strongly about helping out our students any way that I can. So that's a bit about my background. You know, I made the decision to do an MBA in early 2000s, and it's sort of ironic. I did this program online, and I did it online because at the time, again, being an IT leader, I wanted to show that the technology worked, and the best way to do that is to sort of walk the talk, right? Don't just talk about it, go out and do it. And so, spent 4 or 5 years taking classes at night online, being a part of this online community, and sort of 10 12 years later, we're all doing it again, right? We're forced to do things online and forced to really vet that model, where 10 12 years ago there was a lot of skepticism in the industry for it. It's great to see how that's really come full circle, and we're able to deliver content to all of you in an interactive experience in a really strong and profound way, using that online learning model. So again, some career advice here for all of you that are thinking that this isn't just necessarily related to IT for any reason. The best thing I can tell you, especially for those of you that might be looking for that internship or that first job, is find a good manager, right? If you're interviewing the manager and the team and the company as much as they're interviewing you, and you want to really find that good manager. And if you don't find it at first, keep looking. There'll be people in the companies that you go to work for that will be good mentors and good coaches, and that's what you want. You want someone that's going to help you grow and help you expand your knowledge and your experience. I also encourage you to work for companies that interest you, and be passionate about it. And I've become passionate about robotics, and it's super interesting, for sure. That's an easy one. But working in healthcare and working in software, like all those areas, be passionate about what you do and find companies. And if you can't find one, maybe it's time to start a company. Maybe there's an idea that you have, something you're passionate about. Start a company. I'd never had that experience. I've always wanted to, but just never had that opportunity. Maybe I'll come work for you. I also like to tell people that you need to think about your career as spanning 40 years, right? And safe to say that probably a number of you probably aren't even 40 years old. And so it's hard sometimes for people to think, I need to do everything right now. I need to be the CIO tomorrow. It took me 28 years to be the CIO. I didn't put a timetable on myself. I knew it was something that I wanted to do, and it was a goal that I had for myself professionally, but I didn't let it define myself. And when you start to think about your career being 40 years long, maybe you think about it in phases, maybe you think about it in groups. And so, I mentioned teaching at Bentley. I'm practicing for my second phase, right? I'm practicing for when I retire being a CIO and I want to go and teach full time. And it gives me an opportunity to do that. And so I encourage you to think about your career. It is a long time, and chances are the technology that we use today is going to be very different in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And so you really need to continue to learn. You need to come to these great events that Professor Mark has, where you're learning and understanding what other people are doing, and make a note about something. Every conference that I go to, I have a very simple goal, is to walk away with 3 really good ideas that I can go and research more about, or maybe I can apply to the way that I do things. And I encourage you to think about that as well. Great ways to do it: through conferences, through readings, through self-study, through sign up for a couple of interesting emails, and get these email digests where you can read really quickly and pick 2 or 3 things to go look in greater detail. It's a good way to keep yourself sharp, keep yourself up to date with what's going on in the world. So as a chief information officer, I spend most of my time strategic planning. I don't write code. I've written enough code in my life to know that I don't like it and I don't want to do it full time. So I spend a lot of my time talking to people, right? I talk to the other leaders in the company. I talk to the individual contributors. I talk to everybody in every role that they have in the company to understand what it is that they're doing. Because at the end of the day, the CIO is responsible for providing, the systems that the employees and the customers and the vendors and the partners that we're all using to collaborate and do our jobs. And so I'm constantly looking around corners, right? That was a phrase that we used when I was at Amazon, is we're constantly looking around the corner to see what's coming, right? Or looking up on the horizon to see what's coming at us. I don't know that any of us in the IT world really predicted what was going to happen with COVID, right? We just, I can remember in February very vividly, because I had a situation where I was able to look around a corner successfully, where I said in February, starting to see things where, countries were shutting down in Europe, right? And what was it gonna be like here in the U.S.? And again, talking to other peers and just sort of staying up to date in the news and what was going on. I went and did things like I doubled and tripled our internet circuits, because I knew we were going to move everybody home. All of our employees worked in the office. We did not do any work from home whatsoever. In fact, it wasn't even encouraged. And so we had to make sure that our VPN, for example, and our networks are going to support now having 300 users working remotely. And what was that going to look like? And so, making those decisions, making small financial investments to enable, productivity, where it paid huge dividends for our company as we moved into a COVID world and having everybody working from home. You spend a lot of time as a leader building trust with people. And that's really important, because if you are all of my customers, it's really important for me that if you have a problem, I want you to come to me first so I can help you solve that problem. I tell people in a cloud world, if you sit in sales or marketing or manufacturing, you have a credit card, you can go and implement your own ERP system and never talk to the IT team. And that could create serious problems for your organization down the road. So I tell my people a lot, we have a small IT team, there's 10 of us, and I constantly tell them, build good relationships and build the trust of the teams, and they'll bring you into the conversations when things get really hard and get difficult, and that's what we want to do as leaders and as IT professionals. As managers, and I suspect all of you are going to be managers someday, right? That's just the kinds of people that Bentley, what they produce in their programs. You guys are going to be the high performers, you're going to be the managers and the leaders, and you're going to learn really quickly. You're going to hire good people and get out of their way, right? Hire the smartest and the best, give them the tools and the support that they need, get out of their way, let them do their thing, be good supportive managers, and encourage your people that way. I also can't do it myself. We have 10 people. I got to find strategic partners, always understanding who are the right technology players out there, who are the right firms to partner with, the right technology that we want to buy. We need to do that in a financially responsible way, right? You'll leave Bentley University with a good understanding of business. You're going to apply those things in everything that you do. So having a good fiscally and financially responsible plan in what we do. And again, be a good human being, right? Be transparent in what you're doing, deliver what you promise, right? We're not into being dishonest. I've always found that even if things don't go well, being honest with people is the best way that you can always deal with other folks. And that's going to go back to my earlier point about trust and credibility. A couple of things here before I open it up to questions. This is what our portfolio looks like. I can't go into great detail for confidentiality reasons, but I can say, give you a peek at some of the partners that we have. I mentioned that need for strategic partners. If I had to group them into sort of three primary areas for what we do, number one, it's DevOps, right? It's the ability to enable our developers to create and build products quickly and efficiently and securely. The second bucket would be around enterprise resource planning. So Salesforce and Workday, some of our big players for sales and marketing, for manufacturing and order fulfillment, for human resources, recruitment to retirement, managing our employees in the best way that we can. And then the third way is around analytics, implementing a full enterprise data lake and a set of analytics tools on top of that to allow people to take data that we capture from our ERP systems or even from our robots, and then sort of analyzing that, becoming more predictive in what we do. And then again, that allows us to provide better services for our customers and our employees. I also like to spend a lot of time and think it's really important as a CIO, again, to be sort of looking around corners and sort of looking at the horizon. It's easy to fall into the trap of just supporting the stuff that you have, right? The help desk tickets, the break fix stuff, maybe a few enhancements here or there, maybe an upgrade here or there. But what about the innovative stuff? And while I don't have anything to show you, maybe I could do this for you in the future sometime. A couple of interesting projects that we're working on. We recently just launched shop.bostondynamics.com. This was a result of COVID. We are selling robots online. You can go and buy a spot online. They're $74,500. So it's either a Tesla or a spot. I'd probably pick a Tesla myself, but the robots are kind of cool. But we started selling them online as a means to expand our sales reach and our sales capabilities. And this was a project that basically went from concept to production in under 60 days that required us to great collaboration across sales and finance and legal and IT and business development to bring this to life. And I encourage you to check out the website. It's really kind of cool, shop.bostondynamics.com. The other project that's worth talking is I mentioned that new building that we have in the Post. We have new challenges, right, with people in physical space and people working from home, and looking at the technology is not new. It's going to be a new application for us, but something like a Jamboard. Google makes something called the Jamboard, or some of these other interactive whiteboards. And how do we use the employees' own devices to enable their collaboration capabilities when we have people in conference rooms and then people sitting in their living room rooms in their porches like me trying to do work. And the last one that I'm super excited about is helping our field sales using augmented reality. So imagine having an agent sitting anywhere in the world that has eyes on exactly what you're looking at, and they can sort of, hold up their tablet and draw on it and see, hey, don't plug the cable in here, plug it in over here. And so how can we use this to help improve the experience between our field agents and our customers? It's an interesting way to expand what we can do in a COVID world where maybe someone's not going to get on a plane anymore, but also just helping our customers have that really cool experience of working with us. My customer support manager, who was just phenomenal at his job, I think he described it right to me. He said, you know what? He said, eventually there will be other people that their technology will catch up to us. He said, but I want them to have the world-class, the best user experience that differentiates us beyond our customers. And we think this is one of the ways in which we can do that. So I am up to my limit in time, I think. Mark, I think we're doing okay. Happy to take any questions. Yes, Frankie, we should get a spot for the sandbox. Mark, you should talk to me. We do have specials for universities and educational situations, so we should talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So thanks, Chad. Other comments or questions for Chad other than suggesting that we get a spot to come visit the sandbox at some point?
I'm good, Mark. I will. I'm going to stick around for Frankie's presentation because I love Amazon, and my LinkedIn profile's up there. If anybody would like to reach out, if you have a question about IT careers or Boston Dynamics or any of the companies I worked at, I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can.
I have to tell you that knowing Chad as I have for the past several years, he's very sincere in that offer. So if you are just meeting Chad now, hop on LinkedIn and connect with him and save his contact info.